To better help the client understand the purpose of the CNY-VI and what can be expected, an opening script should be read. Here you can see a list of points that should be touched on before beginning the assessment. First, introduce yourself and your organization. Explain the purpose of the assessment. Let the client know that the assessment usually takes around 7 minutes to complete. Only yes or no answers are being sought. There is no need to include additional detail. The client has the right to skip or refuse any question. Inform the client on where the information will be stored. If the client or the assessor does not understand a question, clarification can be provided. Relay the importance of giving accurate information and that there is no need to feel there is a correct or preferred answer or anything that they should hide. There are 3 different CNY-VIs based on the household type you are entering the VI for. The CNY-VI singles is for single individuals 25 years of age or older. The VI family is for families, including parenting youth ages 18 through 24. And the VI youth is for non-parenting youth between the ages of 18 and 24. These questions are included on all 3 CNY-VIs, the singles, family, and youth. These first 2 questions ask about history of homelessness. The first is, how long has it been since you lived in permanent stable housing, with the options of less than 1 year or more than 1 year. And the next is, in the last 3 years, how many times has a client been homeless, with the options being 4 or more times or less than 4 times. If the client answers more than 1 year and or 4 or more times, they will receive 1 point. This next question asks if the current period of homelessness has been caused by any sort of abuse or trauma. The client receives 1 point if the answer is yes. These next 2 questions ask about money. The first is, does anybody think that the client owes them money? And the second is, do you currently get any money from any of the sources listed here? If the answer to this first question, does anyone think the client owes them money, is yes, or if the answer to does the client get any money currently is no, the client will receive 1 point. The next question is asking if the current episode of homelessness was caused by a breakdown in any relationship, whether with family or friends or otherwise. If the client answers yes, they receive 1 point. This question asks about any sort of legal trouble the client may have. If the answer to this question is yes, they receive 1 point. These next 2 questions ask about medication. The first is there any medication that the doctor says the client should be taking that they are not? And the second is the client taking any medication in a way other than prescribed? If the answer to either of these questions is yes, the client will receive 1 point. This question is asking if anyone forces or tricks the client to do anything they don't want to do. If the answer is yes, the client will receive 1 point. And last is asking if the client engages in any risky behavior in exchange for money. If the answer is yes, the client receives 1 point. And finally, the supplemental question asks, does a client have a health condition that increases their vulnerability in congregate or unsheltered settings? If the answer is yes, the client will receive 3 points. These 7 questions are specific to the family CNY-VI. This first question asks if everyone in the family is able to take care of basic needs. If the answer is no, the client receives 1 point. This question asks about family weekly activities. This question asks if the client has ever struggled with maintaining supervision outside of school hours. And this question asks if there are both children 12 and under and 13 and over if the older children spend 2 or more hours helping their younger siblings on a typical day. If the answer to the activities question is no, and/or the question for consistent supervision, or the older children helping the younger children is yes, the client will receive 1 point. This question asks if in the last 180 days, any of the children have had to live with family or friends due to the homeless situation. This question asks if any child in the family has experienced abuse or trauma in the last 180 days. And this question asks if there are school-aged children, do the children attend school more often than not each week? If the answer to either of these first 2 questions is yes, or the answer to this question is no, the client will receive 1 point. These 7 questions are specific to the youth CNY-VI. This first question asks if the client is able to take care of all their basic needs. If the answer is no, the client receives 1 point. This question asks if the client has ever had to leave an apartment shelter program or other place because of their physical health. This question asks about chronic health issues. And this question asks if the client has any physical disabilities that would limit their type of housing or make it difficult to live independently. This next question asks if when the client is feeling sick, do they avoid getting medical help? This question asks if the client is currently pregnant, has ever been pregnant, or has gotten someone pregnant. If the answer to any of these questions is yes, the client will receive 1 point. This question asks, does the client have any planned activities other than just surviving that makes them feel happy and fulfilled? If the answer is no, the client will receive 1 point. In certain situations, it may be necessary to make corrections to an existing CNY-VI. For example, if a client discloses some information that conflicts with something previously entered on the CNY-VI. To make this correction, you will open either the CE entry or the interim where the CNY-VI was originally entered. Once you have located the VI that you need to correct, click the pencil icon. From here, you can change any answer that you need to correct. For our example, we will say that we discovered the client does in fact have a health condition that increases their vulnerability. We will change the answer to yes and click Save. Anytime information in a CNY-VI changes, you must end the current CNY-VI and enter a new one that reflects the changes in information. To do this, we will first create an interim for the date that the changes occurred. Click the icon in the Interims column and click Add Interim Review. The review type is always Update, and for our example, changes will have been on March 15th. Here you can see the existing CNY-VI and the coordinated entry sub-assessment that is attached to it. First, we will end the existing CNY-VI. To do this, click the pencil icon and scroll to the top where you'll see a section to enter an end date. The end date should always be the day before the new CNY-VI will be entered. For our example, that date is March 14th. Click Save. Next, you will end the coordinated entry sub-assessment that is attached to the VI that we just ended. To do this, click the pencil icon and enter in the end date. Click Save. Now we can enter the new CNY-VI. First, we will add the coordinated entry sub-assessment. Click Add. The date of assessment is March 15th. For our example, the location will be Catholic Charities Men's Shelter. And we will have done the assessment in person. The assessment level is always Housing Needs Assessment, and the prioritization status is always placed on prioritization list. Click Save. Now we can add the new CNY-VI. Click the Add button. From here, you can enter in the new updated information for the new VI. Once you have answered all of the questions, click Save.